Loki has a new power. He now travels in time. In episode number 5 of Loki, we are shown what happens when the universe begins to disintegrate due to the destruction of the loom. Loki has traveled between different realities trying to recruit a group to save the TVA. But on the way, we discover something incredible that will change the Marvel Universe forever. The beginning of one of the mightiest heroes of all existence. In this video, we'll be talking about what Loki's new powers and the end of this episode mean for the Marvel Universe. And if you like everything related to Loki, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Welcome to the Oasis Geek. This episode begins with Loki traveling on a time loop inside the TVA. The system is trying to save itself here and activates a code called Code 1229. We should pause and reflect on what this means. Loki in this season has demonstrated a new ability, the power of time travel. This was a big surprise in this episode, but it was not explained what was the origin of this power. We can speculate that the TVA has a defense system, which gives the ability to travel in time to someone. Perhaps that failsafe that was activated was Loki. Perhaps He Who Remains had some kind of technology, which gave this ability to Loki to help him in the past. Whatever the reason, Loki's time travel changes everything. But we'll talk about that later in the video. Loki begins to travel between realities, where he meets each of the members of the TVA. For some reason, Loki was traveling between these places, and at the end of the episode, it is explained that Loki developed the ability to feel the temporal aura of his friends and transport himself to them. As mentioned in our previous video, Mobius is a jet ski salesman who lives a boring life but accepts the call of duty. Although he initially thinks Loki is crazy, he eventually agrees to help him because he sees Obie using the TemPad technology. After the TemPad was destroyed, everyone in the TVA was reset on their original timelines, but they were still destroyed. What I think happened is that Kang the Conqueror is exploiting these realities, but Loki has the ability to time travel between these realities, and to the past and future, which means that Loki can fight in this war and transport himself wherever he wants, as long as his friends are there. Let's talk about Obie. He was a scientist and science fiction writer. His story is very similar to that of Victor Timely. Obie didn't want to be a scientist in his time because he felt limited. He preferred to write science fiction and dream of technologies that didn't exist in his time. Victor Timely was the same way. He was a scientist trapped in the wrong era, and both had the same origin. Victor received the TVA manual from Renslayer, but Obie received it from Loki. I believe that this version of Obie, which receives the TVA manual and creates the TemPad, is the version that will later help He Who Remains to create the TVA. And then together they will create the TVA manual, the same manual that will later inspire them both to become scientists who will work at the TVA, thus fulfilling the eternal cycle. It is possible that Mobius will also become that version that will help He Who Remains after the memory of his sons, Sean and Kevin, is erased. I think Loki, trying to stop the destruction of the TVA, is creating it, which could also be a loop in itself. Something I found interesting is that Mobius asked Loki if Obie was his friend, and Loki replied that he will be in the future, as if implying that this Obie will become the one we saw in past episodes. However, the episode shows us that Sylvie has no desire to help Loki. In our previous video, we theorized that the person who could return the memories to the TVA employees was Sylvie, and this was confirmed in this episode. But Sylvie had no desire to help Loki. The lack of help and waste of time caused the realities to collapse. Loki was at the end of reality and was the last person left alive. However, he managed to control his power and traveled in time. During this episode, Loki has a conversation with Obie, where Obie tells him that Loki must learn to control his powers, and finally, Loki succeeds. By thinking about people, Loki is able to transport himself to them, no matter where they are in reality. This makes Loki the perfect person to recruit the Avengers to take on Kang. Loki can travel between realities just by thinking of a person. Surely his brother would be the person Loki could transport to most easily, and then involve the Avengers. But we'll talk more about that later. In this episode, we were also shown that Loki has made it his life's purpose to be with his friends and save reality. With Loki's ability to time travel, plus his magical abilities that we have seen in other movies, Loki has just become one of the most powerful entities in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For he could appear in any movie and rewrite the past as he sees fit. Marvel has just created a god, and we should not take this as just another power. This is the beginning of one of the most powerful characters we will see in the Kang dynasty. Now we are only one episode away from the end of this season. On the next episode, it is possible that it will be revealed how the TVA will be created. We will also be shown the real threat on the multiverse, and possibly Loki traveling to where Thor is to recruit him. I think it will be the start of this new phase, and so far it has been one of the best starts. But tell me, what are your thoughts? Why do you think Loki can now travel in time? And how will he use these powers? And for more videos of your favorite series and movies, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You are on the Oasis Geek.